How's it going, everyone? This is Adam from Slurve, Ship My Money on DraftKings, and I'll be breaking down today's pitching slate for you for Friday, June 10th. We got a lot of really good pitchers going today. I think today's going to be a really fun day for both cash and for GPPs. So I'll get started since there's a lot to talk about. Starting with cash on DraftKings, Clayton Kershaw obviously is the number one pitcher on any slate that he's on, and that's no different tonight. He's priced at 13,900 on DraftKings, and I think in cash games you definitely should just lock him in because he's going to be popular and he's the safest play on any board. He also has owned the Giants throughout his career, so even though it doesn't look like a great matchup on paper, those guys just can't hit him, and so I definitely want him in my cash lineups. My number two pitcher on DraftKings would be Matt Harvey at 8,300 against the Brewers. The Brewers are a team that they have some games where they hit really well, and then they have other games where they just like strike out all the time. And Harvey, I think, is going to have a good game against them tonight. He throws 66% first pitch strikes so far this year, and the Brewers are a team who they don't swing often. So if you're not throwing first pitch strikes and you're getting behind in the count, then they'll hit you well because you're coming back with fastballs over the plate when you're behind in the count. But if you get ahead in the count, then they're going to end up having to swing at your pitches. And Harvey throws a lot of first pitch strikes. His strikeout rate is down this year, but he does still have a 10% swinging strike rate and a 35% swing rate on pitches out of the strike zone. So that tells me that his pitches are still pretty good, and I expect him to have a lot of success in this matchup with Milwaukee. For FanDuel, I plan on just using Clayton Kershaw in cash. Yeah, he's expensive at 13,100, but I think that pricing on FanDuel is cheap enough that you really should just go with Kershaw, especially with the Kiki Hernandez pricing error where he's $220 in cash. I think he's definitely in play to just save yourself some salary when you roster Kershaw. For GPPs, there's a lot of really interesting options to me. Kershaw obviously is in play. He's most likely going to be the highest scoring pitcher on the slate. But and also on DraftKings, I think that Steven Strasburg against Philly being priced right below him will shave at least a little bit of ownership off of Kershaw, since you get what's perceived as a better matchup for a $400 savings, and people will think that they're being contrarian by not playing Kershaw. But so I like Kershaw. Stephen Wright on DraftKings is really interesting. His price is way up to the point where I don't think I'm going to play him, but it is interesting because nobody's going to play him. And he, does go deep in the games. He does get strikeouts. So he's someone that I think's at least worth a look. I don't think, as of right now, I doubt that I'll actually have him. I like Corey Kluber at 11,400 against the Angels. The Angels don't strike out a lot, but they have had some games this year against good strikeout pitchers where they have struck out. And I think Kluber's a guy that matches up really well with them because they make a lot of contact, but they also chase a lot of pitches out of the strike zone. And Kluber gets a lot of swings at pitches out of the zone, as well as a lot of swings and misses. So I think he can kind of exploit the Angels' aggressiveness because he has, really good pitches that are hard to make contact with. So I think that he's in a good spot today. And I could see him going overlooked since there are so many options and people don't want to pay up for a guy against a team that doesn't strike out. I absolutely love Lance McCullers against Tampa Bay. He's 10,300 on DraftKings, and I think at that price point, it's going to hurt his ownership because it's a pretty high price point. It's higher than we're used to for him, and he doesn't have the name value of these other pitchers that you can pay up for. But he gets a ballpark boost pitching in Tampa. He's facing a Rays team who strikes out about 25% of the time against right-handed pitching, and they have the highest swinging strike percentage in the major leagues at 12.5%. McCullers has electric stuff. He's got a 29% strikeout rate so far this season, and his peripherals, are really good, so I expect that to stay up. The one place he runs into problems is with his walks, but Tampa's in the middle of the pack as far as walk rate goes, so while I'm not saying it's a non-issue, it's not a matchup where I think it's going to be any worse than usual, and it's just a spot that I think he provides a ton of upside. John Gray is interesting to me, more so on FanDuel at 7,400. $8,800 on DraftKings, I think, is a little too expensive for him in this matchup. But at 7,400, he's in Coors Field, which obviously hurts. But over the course of his career, he has a 3.65 xFIP at Coors Field, and he is the type of pitcher that you expect to not get hurt too much by being in Coors Field because he has that hard fastball, hard slider, and he's a ground ball pitcher. The one thing that stands out so far in his career, his strikeout rate at home is only 19% compared to 30% on the road. So obviously he hasn't been in the majors that long, so that could be, a combination of issues. And so it's not the safest play, but at 7,400 as a nice favorite, I think that he's worth a look because you could do a lot with bats if you roster him against the Padres. And, the strikeout upside is obviously there against the Padres. Like I said, I like Matt Harvey a lot. I do think he'll be popular, but, I really like this matchup for him, so I'm fine with him. Jeremy Hellickson at 7,600 on DraftKings, 7,200 on FanDuel, I absolutely love. There's no reason that he's still priced this low. If you look at all the pitchers on this slate, he has the sixth highest strikeout percentage, and that's backed up by a 12.6% swinging strike rate. He is putting up elite, just strikeout numbers and plate discipline numbers, and he's still priced down at 7,600, and people just won't play him. And on top of that, you have the Nats, who, they're a dangerous offense, but they're not an elite offense. They have a 90 WRC plus against right-handed pitching this season, and they have tended to struggle with, off-speed curveballs, changeups. Look at Miguel Gonzalez last night, kind of a similar profile. And Hellickson's already faced them 3 times this year. He has 2 really good starts and 1 really bad start. And this is just a spot where I absolutely love him today. He's gotten a little bit of Vegas line movement in his favor already, with Philly going from a plus 260 underdog down to, plus 245 down to plus 230, but the total in the game also went from 8 to 7.5. So he's got some nice movement in his favor so far in Vegas, and I just really, really like him in this matchup. I think he's a little bit riskier on FanDuel since he's going up against Strasburg. It's going to be hard for him to get the win. But still, at 7,200, he can put up – he definitely has the potential to have by far the highest point per dollar for the day at pitcher, and, just lets you roster so many other hitters. So he's someone that I just really love in tournaments today. So that's what I'm thinking right now. As always, stop into the Slurve chat throughout the day, and I'll be in there to answer some questions. And we have the expert chat tonight starting at, I believe, 4:30 Eastern. But, stop in the chat and double check that. Good luck tonight, guys.